In fact, one might go so far as to say you're just covered up in red. And I'm not even going to hit the sounder this morning because I still haven't gotten around to fixing the damn taco thing. I've got it in my notes. It's just so much stuff to do. Good morning. It's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. We're going to talk about a shooter. So we got another Navy base got hit. This time in Florida. The Pensacola Navy base. I will not say the shooter's name out loud while we're live. But I will say beforehand that we're going to look at a couple of articles. So if the name happens across the screen, I'm not going to put in the effort to try and blur it out while we're live. That's a pain in the ass that I'm not interested in. So, what we know about the Saudi national suspect in the Pensacola Navy base shooting.
I don't know. I can't see the thing.
Oh, well, hey. Everybody else can. Do you feel ignored? Do you feel left out?
I feel so left out.
Okay.
I'm glad I read a good bit of this information ahead of time.
All right, well, so we've got 4 dead, including the suspect, and 8 wounded. Well, I'll say this for him. He's apparently a better shot than the guy last week. So I want to focus more on what went wrong for this to occur. I mean, a bad guy's gonna bad guy. That's what they do. Where the failure is not that there are evil men in the world. Where the failure is that our policies, the U.S., our policies, our procedures, and our expectations of evil fail consistently. We're running a little behind this morning. It's 7 o'clock right now, precisely because Cameron and I had to spend an extra little bit of time talking about this one this morning. This is 2 Navy bases in
less than a week.
Yeah, in less than a week. 2 Navy bases in less than a week. Now, I've said before on many occasions, and most recently on the last episode that we did where we talked about the last shooting, I am a firm believer not that American service members should be allowed to arm themselves. No. Every American citizen should be allowed to arm themselves per the Constitution. But every American service member should be armed as a matter of AR-670-1, the wear and appearance of the uniform. Good God, I didn't get that wrong, did I? Yeah.
It's
anyway,
okay. You're not in the Army anymore.
I'm not up for a board anymore, but 670-1? Yeah.
Long story short, BDUs now include a sidearm. Period.
Exactly. You should not be in your uniform, ACUs.
Oh, excuse me.
But yeah, we retired the BDUs. But anyway, but you should not be in your service uniform, in your combat uniform, without a sidearm.
Yeah, now, it's called your combat uniform.
For my taste, I would honestly say you shouldn't be in your dress blues, your mess dress, any military uniform with the possible exception of your PT gear explicitly for the purposes of doing PT. If you're not in your physical training gear, your little booty shorts, what we call ranger panties, and a t-shirt, if you're not about to go run or do push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, or your WOD, then damn it, you ought to be wearing your Beretta. Now, I would be comfortable with one of 2 approaches to this. Either you just say the Second Amendment is the law because the Second Amendment is the law, in which case each soldier would be permitted to open carry on their uniform their personal weapon. That would be an acceptable solution. The correct solution, however, and I defy you to present me an argument against this, is that the wear of the military uniform. So, okay, I'm going to back up just a hair. When you wear your uniform, there are certain things about the uniform that are a certain way. If you're wearing ACUs and you don't have compliant boots on, you are out of uniform. And you can rightly be reprimanded for that outside of a very specific set of exceptions. Things like you've got a back injury that you're recovering from and the doc says you need to wear soft tennis shoes, stuff. But if you're in uniform, you are wearing the uniform pants, the uniform blouse, the correct type of uniform t-shirt, which is a specific color without print on it unless an exception is made by your command for team shirts, which I have a few of, a compliant pair of boots, a belt, name tag, U.S. Army tag, U.S. flag on the right shoulder, unit patch on the left shoulder, combat patch on the right if you've earned one, rank. These things are part of the uniform. And for a lot of units, there are what is called inspectable items. If you are OCONUS, outside of the contiguous United States, for all units, your dog tags are part of that inspectable item. One of those inspectable items. You wear them all the time. Per the regulation, you don't have to wear the dog tags all the time if you are in the contiguous United States, but you should anyway, because damn it, you're in the Army. Put your dog tags on. And for a lot of units, there will be extra things like a pair of earplugs that are hanging off a certain belt loop. That's an inspectable item, and you can get in trouble for not having it on you. A notepad, a pen, right? Those are inspectable items for a lot of units. Your sidearm, an approved, appropriate sidearm. I don't care if it's a 9mm or a 1911, but an issued weapon should be issued to every soldier upon the completion of the basic combat training program, and that is their weapon. When they ETS or retire, that weapon goes with them. And they are expected to carry that weapon always. Most especially as a matter of enforceable regulation while in uniform.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. In fact, I think it should actually be part of the graduation ceremony. You mentioned this. I think it's a brilliant idea. Go ahead and everybody gets a Beretta. Everybody gets a Beretta with their name lasered into the side of it. Like it is their gun, and it's just part of the uniform. You know, we talked about this a few days ago. Like, you ever look at a cop's belt? A cop's belt doesn't just have a gun. It's got a taser. It's got mace. It's got handcuffs. It's got a big fuck-all flashlight. And if they're not supposed to hit people with it, but, you know, it might happen from time to time.
Right. It's got 4 batteries in it, so you know when to stop hitting somebody.
But the point is not only...
the point is every cop is Batman. I mean, they're a clunky, inefficient Batman, but he's Batman.
Yeah, they're carrying an array of weapons, and soldiers don't carry a single one. And I'm furious every time this happens. And the fact that this happened again so quickly and with such an obvious target, because look, you know, and I loved how the FBI came out and was like, hey, whoa, we're not sure this is terrorism. Okay, you can call me a racist if you want to, but I tell you when I knew this was terrorism, as soon as I heard the guy was from Saudi Arabia. Okay, not only did I know it was terrorism, but I knew it was a very specific blend of pro-Islamic, anti-Western terrorism. I had exactly 0 doubts at that point in time. But the FBI, for some reason, let's be sure. Let's be sure.
Let's see.
Yeah.
The definition of terrorism, according to Bing, is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Saudi shooter at Pensacola Navy base may have tweeted anti-U.S. screed.
As in, he did, but we still need to verify. And look, it would be one thing if every time any violent incident happened, the feds had a very specific policy about not making assumptions. But that's not what it is. It seems to be specifically people with brown skin that pray 5 times a day. Those are the people that get this extra layer of, whoa, let's be sure. Let's just be 100% certain that it's not, anything else first, even though we all kind of know. And I mean, according to Snowden and his interview that he did with, I'm just blanking on his name. He's only got the biggest freaking podcast in the world.
Joe Rogan.
Thank you, Joe Rogan. But according to Snowden on Joe Rogan, it's like the government just spies on everything, basically worldwide at all times. And apparently this is like this big open secret in the intelligence community. And yet it always comes out later, like Nadal Hassan. Oh, yeah, it turns out we had a pretty good idea he had been radicalized. And then those Tsarnaev brothers that blew up the Boston Marathon. Again, we had a pretty good idea that they'd been radicalized. We even had foreign assets tip us off and let us know that these guys had been radicalized. And yet somehow, this big, giant safety net system failed us. And while I am no fan of the concept of pre-crime, if we're going to have a system in place that effectively functions as some form of pre-crime, could it maybe, I don't know, function? I mean, this infuriates the absolute shit out of me because, you sign on the dotted line for the military. And Chris, please correct me if I'm wrong, but here's what you're really signing. You're not, yeah, technically you're signing time and you're signing dedication, but what you're really signing is your ass. That's
a blank check. You're signing a blank check to pay for the liberties and sovereignty of the United States and the people therein, swearing an oath to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution, and paying for that privilege with a blank check for an amount up to and including your ever-loving ass. That is what you're signing.
So you could literally join the army and be dead in less than a year in some shithole country that you didn't even know existed before you got your deployment orders. And that is legally enforceable by law. And all that's fine. But we can't give you a gun? Hell, we can even let you do things like buy beer before you're 21. But we can't give you a gun?
Yeah, we don't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Well, that's another thing that I think is wrong. I mean, if you're an adult and like literally we as us soft, pudgy civilians can elect crooked politicians that are going to send you to your death, yeah, no, you're allowed to have a gun and a beer. In fact, I think you should be required to have the gun and the beer should just be optional. But I mean, like this, I could just go and go and go. This infuriates me. WTF, military outposts should not be soft targets. They should not. Ironically, the military police are armed. So why is it that the cops get guns and the soldiers don't? And I realize that cops and soldiers don't do the exact same thing. And God, you don't want them to do the exact same thing because that gets messy.
No, you certainly don't want your cops doing what I did.
But there's enough overlap in the two professions where, okay, like maybe we give our soldiers Berettas. Maybe we just make it part of the graduation ceremony, laser etched into the side, and that is their gun for life. Even after they leave the military. It's what the Swiss do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
and
there's
look,
so many...
making it part of a military graduation ceremony, I really, really like that idea, because let me tell you something. graduating from basic combat training, that doesn't make you a soldier full on. You still have to get your job. You're going to go to an AIT, an advanced individual training, where you're going to learn how to do a specific job. But no, graduating from basic combat training, you are capable of being an infantry soldier now. Graduating from basic combat training is a big fucking deal. It's a huge deal. Right? I didn't honestly understand how big a deal it was at the time when I graduated. I mean, I understood it academically. I had an idea. But to really kind of grok what that meant, it's a big deal. And getting through that training, it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not complex. It's more of an endurance trial than anything. Okay?
It's one of those things that's easy, but it's hard.
You can do it if you just do it. But doing it requires a real dedication. And by the time you graduate basic combat training, if you're doing it right, you have been locked in a room with a bunch of tear gas, and had to take your gas mask off and clear it and clean it, and then put it back on and get out of the room effectively. Almost everybody pukes. You have marched 10 miles or something with, I've done much longer marches than that in my military career after basic, but up to before basic, I had never thrown on a 60 or 80 pound rucksack and just walked for a day, right? By that point, you have jumped off the tower and rappelled down it on ropes. You've just done all kind of shit, right? You've done the night course where you crawl on your belly under barbed wire in your full basic combat battle rattle, while live gunfire is shot over your head, while live bullets are fired over your head. You've done bounding drills where you and your battle buddy are shooting live bullets at targets over one another's heads, and in order to train communicating with one another while you're shooting past one another. You've done some coming out of basic. You've done some shit, right? Coming out of basic, you've done the kind of stuff that most soldiers are gonna think, who hadn't done that? But it's the kind of stuff that your average civilian is gonna think, that's crazy. Why would you even try that? Because that's what we do.
Well,
that's what war is.
The first time you try any of that stuff, it doesn't need to be in a hot zone.
No. No, you don't want to go into your first gunfight wondering if you can move toward gunfire. You should probably expect that. No, that's a thing I can do.
Well, anyhow, man, apart from seriously probably being able to fill up just another 20 minutes of being pissed off at how just absolute stupidity this is. Like, how much disrespect do we show our soldiers by, but you can't be armed. You have all the responsibilities, but no way to defend yourself. No. All the F-bombs. All the F-bombs. Like, it infuriates me.
Hey, but I'm proud of us. We got through this topic today with only one F-bomb.
Yep.
That's an extraordinary amount of self-control on both our parts. Especially mine. Because... this one thing. Arming our soldiers. Letting our soldiers be... soldiers!
There's a microphone there.
Would have prevented the Fort Hood shooting, would have prevented this, would have prevented the one last week, would have prevented, or at least more rapidly resolved, the Marine Corps recruiting station in was it Tennessee or Kentucky? It was several years ago, I forget. But there is no shooting that has occurred on a military base or military station which would not have had a better outcome had the soldiers at the station been armed like they damn well should. And we're running over time. We're already over 20 minutes, but I want to point this out real quick. I'm not going to go into deep detail on it, but I want to point this out real quick. Trump pushes to allow troops to carry personal weapons on bases. That's a headline from the from military.com, from the Military Times, right? And here's the thing that I want to point out.
Oh, so that's over a year old. Man, it's almost like
almost 2 years old.
It's almost like a thinking person could have seen this coming. So, hey, just here's a black pill question to end the show on. What do high schools and military bases have in common?
They've been disarmed. They're soft targets.
Gun-free zones, baby.
Yeah.
And yet we still haven't had a police station get shot up, have we?
No. Nope.
Weird that. It's almost like every single person inside that building has a sidearm.
Well, yeah, I mean, liquor stores get robbed, banks get robbed. When's the last time you heard about a pawn shop getting robbed at gunpoint or a gun store getting robbed at gunpoint?
I mean, every now and then it happens, but only every now and then. It almost always ends the same way.
I was about to say, it doesn't. It's not so much that it happens every now and then. It's more that every now and then it almost happens.
But yeah, man, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got, too. All right, it's time to go to work, so y'all be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, it almost happens.
That's fantastic. I didn't know you were going to drop that line, but that was good.